the answers to the 13 questions proffered by Parvati Mata to Bhagwan Shiva, questions asked on our behalf. So we are looking at the answers to question number 7. Question number 7 being about the demise of Ravan, asked by Parvati Mata for the benefit of the world, as we said. And we had alluded to the fact that Sri Ramchandra, in conversation with Bhishan before that great epic battle between himself and Ravan, to point out to the world what is needed to fight such a battle, not only such a battle, the battles that we face day in, day out. And Sri Ramchandra says we need to equip ourselves in this manner. He spoke about defense being like a shield in the form of dispassion. He talked about offense in the form of a sword, which really is contentment. And we had paused last week when we were speaking about the bow, which takes care of targets ahead, which is a sort of foresight that we prepare ourselves to handle challenges that are expected. And so he says that bow is really Vigyan, spiritual knowledge. So we continue on that vein. Spiritual knowledge. Vigyan comes, as we have so often said, and the veracity of that has panned out throughout the Puranas, spending time in satsang, spending time at the feet of the great gurus. And such an example of Vigyan we can take a look at in everyday life, because we says company with the holy produces recipes and answers that are very, very relevant. So if we were to just glance at the monthly calendar produced by the Vidyalaya under the site www.svvtt.com, and we pull up the monthly calendar. There's a daily calendar to handle our daily affairs, obviously, a monthly calendar and a yearly calendar. Under the monthly calendar, we will see the headings on the left hand side, and on one such heading there is the installation of officers in organizations, groups, village councils, etc. Even within the school system, sometimes we have to select student council members or class prefects, as the case may be. These should be meticulously done for they to produce the results and produce harmonious results, and not results that has a lot of acrimony within them. Because we know sometimes when selections or elections are called, there's a lot of bitterness, there's a lot of fallout, not only from about who was elected or selected, but a lot of the contributing factors depend or hinge on the actual day that such people are installed, so that they may not have our ideology, and that's why there is a fallout. But if these installations are done in the proper days, then maybe they might be able to engage our attention and sometimes support if we follow these basic calculations. And these calculations don't have to be worked out. They have been worked out every single month, courtesy the Vidyalaya. So we can apply them. And as we have always said, the lessons or the teachings of Sanatana Dharma are universal. It's for everyone, regardless of one's religious persuasion, because this is mathematics. It does not belong to a religion. It's mathematics. It's universal. So it's worked out there so that in our little world, whatever world that might be, or even a national or international stage, it is easy to put into practice. So every month there is the monthly calendar. We just look back at May gone here, and we'll see days given here and times given here when installation of officers can be done. And we have put times like midnight to 2:48 here, because the world we live in, it's 24/7. So we have catered for that. But then there are times that we regularly can implement, as we see here. They are all given to suit every walk of life. So this is Vigyan. This is carrying it a step further. And all these, when Sri Ramchandra talks about Vigyan or in-depth knowledge as a help, as a bow for foresight, with these implementations, if they are stuck to and adhered to, then we would find that in the future, all the, if not all, the majority of the intentions, the good intentions of such officers who are installed in office will come to pass, or the seeds for such growth will be sown during their tenure. And this is Vigyan, looking into the future to produce a better society, a better nation, a better world, as it were. So as we conclude our answer to question 7, the demise of Ravan, and brought it in chronological order, we actually now reach Ravan's death. He was struck down by 31 arrows. We all know why. The telling arrow was the one that went to the Nabhi, went to the navel. And at the point in time when Ravan was on his dying bed, Shri Ram instructed his younger brother Lakshman to go to the dying Ravan for advice. Obviously, Lakshman was a bit taken back, because to himself, and more so in the eyes of the world, what advice Ravan could give on statecraft when he was in truth and fact such a vile king. There's no disputing his habits were vile, but Ravan was also equally clever. Look how he contrived the plan, using Sita Devi, as we had said before, to allow for his demise, to allow for this Rakshas body of his to be redeemed. And a lot of his maneuvers were along that vein. We quickly point to how he expelled Vibhishan from the kingdom, his half-brother Vibhishan, who was really a true devotee, a deep devotee of Bhagwan Shri Ram Chandra. Ravan didn't want him to get caught in that crossfire. So Ravan was very aggressive and very bold in his step, where he literally kicked Vibhishan, and that, that physical abuse was his stamp that allowed Vibhishan now to walk out of Lanka. Other than that, there would have been allegiance to his elder brother Ravan. He would have stayed. And Ravan ensured by this physical abuse, it authorized, because that is not condoned within Sanatana Dharma. We don't think that is condoned in any society, in any civil society. So more so in Sanatana Dharma, so that Ravan did that. It was a clever move to get Vibhishan out of shooting range, out of a possible death. And he knew Vibhishan going to be encamped with Sri Ramchandra will be the successor to the throne, and that was the express desire of Ravan. So Ravan was indeed clever at statecraft. And Lakshman hesitatingly went to Ravan. Ravan didn't say a word. And Lakshman hurriedly came back to Sri Ramchandraji as though to express that sense of, well, I knew that would have happened. And then Sri Ram very politely asked Lakshman, Bhaya Lakshman, where were you when you went to Ravan? He says, well, I went up to his head within earshot of what he would be saying. And Sri Ramchandra says, that was your error. That is why he didn't speak. Because a devotee, a student, ought to stand at the master's feet. Again, Lakshman stood in consternation. The master's feet? And so he went back. And when he stood at the feet of Ravan, then Ravan began giving a supreme lecture. A snippet of which I will quote, Kal karanta aaj kar, aaj karanta ab, avasar beete jata hai, fir karenge kab. A very nice lesson, that what we have to do tomorrow, do it today. And what we have to do today, do it now. For, as we have coined as this adage in the English world, procrastination is a thief of time. If we keep putting off things, avasar beete jata hai, then we will not avail ourselves of the avasar. An avasar is an appropriate time to execute. And if we do that execution with a degree of promptness, then we'll have the job done. If we keep postponing for frivolous reasons, children sometimes they have their homework and they prioritize wrongly, and so they are cramped for space and give a substandard product as homework. It happens in the student world, it happens in the adult world, in the work environment, it happens across the board, that when we rob ourselves of time and don't set our priorities right, then, as Ravan has said, the appropriate time for delivery will pass us, and we'll be left with a product short of its worth and sometimes not truly reflecting the person that we are, the industrious person that we might be. The product does not endorse it. And so Ravan went at length as Lakshman absorbed, and more so the world absorbed, the lessons of Ravan. And so Lakshman joyfully returned to Sri Ramchandra with this knowledge at his disposal. So up comes question 8 by Parvati Mata. Raja Baiti Kinhi Bahush Leela Sakala Kahahu Shankara Susheela. She says, my Lord, and she calls him Susheela. We'll return to that in a bit. She says, tell me about Raja Baiti, about the stewardship of Sri Ramchandra. Be reminded that when Sri Ram returned victorious over Ravan, and having inquired via the medium of Hanuman that Bharat was comfortable, Bharat who was the heir apparent, but who never sat on the throne, that Bharat was comfortable with the return of Sri Ramchandra. Sri Ramchandra entered the kingdom, and after due process, he was inaugurated as king of Ayodhya, Raja Ram. So Parvati Mata wants the world to know about the stewardship of Sri Ramchandra. She calls him Susheela. She calls Bhagwan Shiva Susheela, and as we have identified before, Sukh is pleasure, and pleasure is but an interval between two pains. We had the pleasure of Sri Ramchandraji being inaugurated as king, as Raja Ram. We had the pain where he had to send Sita Devi out of the kingdom to satisfy the democracy at work. And then there was pleasure again because he returned with all the denizens of Ayodhya back, who were devatas, back to Apavarag, Sakit Log. So that is why Parvati Mata calls Shankar Bhagwan Susheela, because you are going to narrate to me pleasurable experiences and painful experiences. So we look a bit at the stewardship of Sri Ramchandra. Upon his enthronement as Raja Ram, as King Ram, the deities came and they sought his blessings. But it is interesting to look at the blessing sought by Bhagwan Shiva. And in this chant in Ramayan, when the devatas came, got their blessings and was shielded, Bhagwan Shiva approached. And he is indeed the true father of the world, Jagat Pita. Because here he says, Manajata kirata nipata kiye mrigaloga kubhoga sharina hiye. Hati nata anata hi pahi hari vishayavana pamara bhuli pari. Essentially he says, my Lord, Kamdev, the god of love, is like a hunter. He's using a reference here, Bhagwan Shiva. And he says, Lok, the world, the people of the world, they are like mrig, they are like the deer. So the reference is shown here. There's a hunter and there is deer. He says, and the deer really and truly is at the mercy of the hunter. It is defenseless, and it's going to be brutally and fatally wounded. So what does the deer do? The deer looks for refuge, shareen. It says, so too the people of the world, they are looking for refuge, because the hunter that is going to lie low their body is Cupid's arrow. So we will develop as we go along. And so Bhagwan Shiva says, and you know what causes all this? Vishayavana Pamar, that people are caught in the temporal pleasures of life. So this is where Kamdev comes in, and Kamdev here now exemplifies it in the context of lust. One is in an institution, a relationship that is a good bond heading towards a marriage institution, or it might already have concretized into a marriage institution. And what happens? We allow ourselves to be caught in Vishay Vasna, in the temporal pleasures of the world. So there it is, one goes outside of the relationship and infidelity steps in. And Bhagwan Shiva says that born of like a sped arrow, that arrow of Kamdev, it is going to do just as that arrow physically will destroy the deer from the hunter, so too that arrow, Cupid's arrow, can sometimes produce deliver a fatal blow to a solid institution like a marriage institution, like a relationship between two partners. And that must not be looked at idly, says Bhagwan Shiva. So he says, knowing that man is caught in Vishaya Vasana, in these temporal pleasures, I ask you, Prabhu, says Bhagwan Shiva to the Supreme Shri Ramchandra, that I want you to lay low that hunter. I want you to take care of calm, of lust in the world, that whoever calls your name and calls your name lovingly, that you will protect them from such transgressions, from such steps that are actually missteps, and it will wreck an institution. And be reminded, when we talk about wrecking an institution, and we talk about an institution, it may not be two parties alone. It may not be husband and wife. There may be children involved. And who can ever write and describe the trauma the children undergo when these sort of situations pop up in a marriage institution? So Bhagwan Shiva is wary about these traumatic experiences, and he seeks the protection, he seeks the blessings of Sri Ramchandra. Unlike all that went before him, like all the personnel that went before him, he asked for the world. He didn't ask for himself. And that is why you say he's Jagat Pita. He's really and truly the father of the world. Bhagwan Shiva is cognizant of the threat of lust, because when one goes out of an institution, of a bond, it is easy to say that one has been unfaithful. That is only 1/3 of the factor, where there is physical contact with an external partner. That is okay, that is infidelity. But infidelity is sown by the seed of flirting. That when there is a bond, each party should respect each other to the degree that when not exchanging telling glances at other partners, that is a seed that is sowing that destructive tree of infidelity. So one has to be vigilant about that. And when we say vigilant, we don't mean that don't do it, just don't do it. Understand that where this seed is going to go, it is a futile future, for want of a better expression, to allow, not to be vigilant about flirting. And then there's a third, subtle, very dangerous, equally dangerous third of the entire analysis of infidelity. So there's infidelity, there's flirting, and there is humoring. Humoring, like a thief in the night, stealthily moves. We allow it to stealthily move through the character build. So if we find, okay, we are in a work environment, and we decide to pass in and pick up breakfast for an opposite member, and we might say, well, that's a good gesture, but what we have to ask ourselves, did I go out of my way? Did I really want breakfast, or did I go to pick up breakfast and use that as an excuse to also have breakfast for whoever I'm carrying it to? So that's the humoring. When we do things for others out of the norm, we are not talking about family members. We are talking about potential partners, potential affairs. That if we humor, if we do things to please people like that, it is not flirting, it is not infidelity, there's no physical contact, but is sowing that seed that can potentially lead to that end. And that is Vishaya Vasana. That is the Vishaya Vasana. That is the threat of infidelity that Bhagwan Shiva is wary of. And he implores Bhagwan Shri Ramchandra that let you, whenever your children come to you, protect them from the dangerous arrow of Kamdev, which will allow them to go out of an institution of a solid bond. Continuing on the stewardship of Sri Ramchandra, he took time off in the katha known as Praja Updesh to tell his subjects, and his subjects were the devatas, so it's just a medium to tell us that kabahu kakari karuna nardehi deta isha binu hetu sanehi. And that's a very, very weighty statement. Essentially, it says that very rare, kabahu kakari karuna nardehi, God in his mercy grants us the human form, the highest form, which Katha has proven already. And data ish, having given us that form, binu hetu sanehi, without any reason, he loves that form. So sometimes we say, well, sin is when we don't go before God. That is not sin. What we have done is refused and pushed aside the recipes of life, the answers to life challenges. By not going to God, that was what we have done. We have not sinned because he still loves us. Sin is when we create discomfort to our fellow man and the environment, and that discomfort, we don't expect them to be enamored of us. But Prabhu he's dear to us. We are dear to him rather. So not going to him is not sin. The fact that we are pushing aside is something that is will be eventually painful and to us and our great loss to us. So he gives us that form, but he loves it loved this form unconditionally. So what challenges of life we can get? What is the greatness of, let's say, offering a prayer, offering a stuti, a stotra, etc.? What can that lend to our day-to-day life? Well, we quote one, Nanya spreha raghupate hridayasmadiye satyam vadami cha bhavan akhilantaratma bhaktim prayacha raghupungava nirbarami kamadi dosha hitam kurumanasam cha. In Ramayan itself, that is declared that this is just one bandhana, one invocation. Here what it says, that if we consider this body a vessel, a glass for instance, then the next stage is what are we going to put into the glass to drink? Something refreshing, not something poisonous and dangerous. So the invocation tells us, Kama didosha rhitam kurumanasam cha Prabhu, by your grace, help me to get the impurities out of this glass. All the contaminated particles, help me to cleanse it so that the sweet juice, the rus of your divine play may now enter and I may partake and quench my thirst as life goes on. And so, how do we Kama didosha hitam kurumanasam? How do we expect God to wave his magical wand and get rid of these impurities? No. The invocation makes us aware that we have to make the efforts to be first aware of our shortcomings, of our negatives in this vessel, and make the necessary take the necessary steps to cleanse and to remove them. And by continually reciting these and other such mantras, we're supposed to remind ourselves, and by reminding ourselves, one day it is going to be implemented when we truly understand that which we say, that which we recite, and we call prayer or mantra. So Shri Ramchandra has unconditional love for us, but we too, in order to gravitate towards him, to allow, as I say, his divine juice, rus, to flow in us, have to do the needful and get rid of those negativities. And we look at a very interesting point in the reign of Shri Ramchandra. Of course, a dhobi, a washerman, asked the question whether Sita Devi remained chaste when she was in Lanka. We all know Hanuman Katha reveals, Sampati revealed that she was pure. But as democracy would have it, Shri Ramchandra could not produce empirical evidence that that was the case. So he had to accede to the request of the dhobi and hesitatingly send Sita Devi out of the kingdom. There are 2 points we need to look at here, is that this is an example of statecraft. This was his spouse, but he had to do what justice had to appear to be done. So there was no nepotism Though his spouse, she had to go by the law of the land, so she had to be sent out. And there was no cronyism in the stewardship of Shri Ram Chandra. As we say, these texts and these incarnations, they leave a template how we have to carry about ourselves. As leaders, we can't put our kith and kin in key positions close to an executive. That is not in keeping with the tenets of Rajniti, of stewardship, of unbiased stewardship. So friend and family were not pivotal to the rule of the king. Justice had to be uplifted and upheld. And the other facet of it is, what was Sita's position? So here it is, she was in the pregnant stage, bearing the twins Lava and Kush, and she encountered the sage Valmiki. And there was no bitterness and acrimony in the mind of Sita Devi. So hence when the Muni asked her, who are you? Muni Putri Mai Janakake, she says, I am the daughter of Janak. Ramapriya Jagajan, she didn't denounce the stature of her husband Shri Ram Chandra for what would appear to the world a vicious act. He was just exercising statecraft. So she says, I am dear to him and he is dear to me. Tyagana hetu na janakacho, why I am here? Bidhi gati ati balwan. She says that is the decree of destiny. But very interesting, ati balwan. Destiny is powerful, but it also can be removed. Hasibori Raghuvansh Kumara, Vidikar Lika Kumetanahara, Shri Ram Chandra told Hanuman, who you think? Hanuman says, who are you in Kiskindha Khan? And he says, who you think can write the writings of Brahma? So, though destiny is very powerful, it is not cast in stone. By the grace of the Master, it can be removed. So, this was a bit about the stewardship of Shri Ram from beginning to end. At this juncture, we bring today's session to an end. It is our 52nd session. So, on behalf of the Vidyalaya and Samkhya TV, we want to thank you for being an audience there with us. If from time to time, we thank you because that makes satsang narrator and audience. Sitaram, have a blessed week.